Can you finish a bow 8 weeks after felling? For this year's sapling bow building contest on Fletcher's Corner, I decided to trim my parents' blood hazel a bit again. You get roughly 8 weeks from harvesting the wood to finishing the bow. My sapling had only 45mm at the thick end. I used the dull side of my big draw knife to remove the bark from the future bow's back. A hatchet helped me to get rid of the worst side at the belly and to trim the width. Back home I took measures and marked the center. The alignment of the string can be easily checked with some yarn. After drawing the bow's width taper on its back, I used my big draw knife to get the wood roughly in shape. I used the caliper for scribing the depth taper. As I didn't work my way completely down to the marked channel, I put some glue on the limb where it came out in addition to ends and handle region. The weight was controlled with a kitchen balance and noted down directly on the wood. After the wood didn't lose weight from drying anymore, I flipped the ends. They got a good steam bath and were bent in a stencil. I left the bow like this overnight for drying and removed the rest of the fibers from the back with a dull knife. Furthermore, I controlled the string position and noticed that it changed due to bending the ends. Luckily, I left enough wood around the center to simply change the design upside down. I also left the ends wide enough for some corrections and could bring the stave close to its final width with my small draw knife. My fine hand-hammered rasp helped me to get the measures down to the mark, especially at knots. Before I could start tillering, I needed to round all edges. The weak regions that I noticed during the ground tiller were marked with an X. To spread the tension, I removed material from all other regions first with a rough and then with my fine rasp. After I was satisfied, I scribed the positions for the knocks and used a round file to carve them out. The sharp edges were smoothened with a half-round file. When I controlled the height of the knocks, I noticed that the handle had to be adjusted to bring them to the same level. It was then time to get the tiller string on the bow and have a look at it on the tiller tree. In my opinion, the left limb needed to be weaker. Now that I was rather satisfied, I prepared a trapping on the bow's back. It helps to prevent compression damage at the belly that is usually much weaker with Hazel. After I rounded the edges with a scraper blade, I controlled the tiller again. I mark areas that are too strong with a snaky line and work them down with some strokes. Unfortunately, I didn't notice that the right limb was still weaker and I continued to shorten the string. Instead of working down the left limb, I continued on the right limb's shape, constantly shortening the string with each step. I kept drawing the bow further, not noticing that the reason for the wrong shape on the right side was the strong left side. The result was a really bad tiller and compression damage at the belly. After a week of disappointment, I still had some time left to finish the competition, and so I heavily worked down the strong left limb. Additionally, I moved tension away from the critical area in the right limb. I had done a bit too much on the left limb center, but I was on the right track. Some corrections later, it was time for the first some dozen arrows at half draw. Fortunately, I didn't find any new compression damage. So now that I was confident to finish the project, I started the decorative work on handle and tips. All remaining scratches from the rasp were removed with 120 grit sanding paper on belly and sides. Always work along the fibers. The tiller control looked fine for me, so I could shoot another some dozen arrows at full draw and didn't find any damage again. For the finish I started with 240 grit sanding paper and now also worked on the back. The next step was to wash away sanding dust with soaking wet cloth. After an hour of drying, I gave the wood a final grind with 400 grit. Finally, I gave it 3 coatings of kettle boiled linseed oil while I let each of them dry for 12 hours. I gave the bow a grip from goat leather and finished it within time. It has 168 cm knock to knock, 34 pound at 28 inch and hardly any hand shock. Tell me how much time you needed for your last bow down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button to let us know you want more of this content. Don't forget to also have a look at our other videos. Get cubed and subscribe to stay informed about the latest news and uploads, or follow us on your favorite social media and share the video with your friends. Thank you for any support, it really helps us to improve our content.